Hi. A few weeks ago I did a video recording of the old Russian tune from the 1950s, Moscow Nights, fingerstyle version. I had a couple of requests from YouTube people who'd watched it for me to do an instructional video on the piece, similar to what I'd done for How to Play St James Infirmary Blues. So I thought, why not? What I'm going to do in this video is take a look at the chord structure of the tune, which is basically a 16-bar tune in which the last 8 bars or so is repeated to make it 24 bars. So I'll look at the structure, then we'll look at the individual chords, the basic chords, which are used for the tune, and then I'm going to show some slow motion diagrams with red and blue dots indicating the chord patterns and take you through the first part of the tune. I shan't take you through the repeat because it's just a waste of time, so we'll take you through the main part, the first 16 bars of the tune. Then we'll come back to some live action, and I'll just go through the chords, the fingering and some variations and so on, and show you how they're formed to pick the tune properly. And then there'll be a bit of live action showing the picking hand and what I'm doing there. So here we go with Moscow Nights. The tune is 24 bars long. Note that bars 8 to 15 are repeated as bars 16 to 23. So here are bars 8 to 15 outlined in red, and here are those same repeated bars outlined in blue. When we get to the section of the video which goes through the tune slowly with chord diagrams, the repeat section outlined in blue here won't be played again, just to save some time. Now let's look at some individual chords. The chords used in the tune, which is in A minor, are fairly basic root chords for the most part, but it's important to remember that they will change here and there as the melody runs through them. In these simple chord pictures, by the way, the open string has a circle above it to indicate it's played. If there's no circle on an open string, that string isn't played. The numbers inside the white oblongs show the normal fingering. So here's the basic A minor chord by way of an example. The first finger's on the second string, the second finger on the fourth string, and the third finger on the third string. This is a D minor chord just played on the top 4 strings. A basic C chord is shown here. Note that the little finger, labelled 4 in the diagram, can be taken off, and the third finger can alternate between the 5th and 6th strings. Here's one of many versions of an E7 chord. This G9th chord is the only barred chord in the whole tune, and for those who worry about playing barred chords, I'll give some tips on finding the G9 a little later in the video. Here's a simple G. Note the fingering for this chord, which doesn't use the first finger. And this is followed by one version of a G7th chord. This is a B7th. The second finger can also alternate between the 5th and 6th strings at the 2nd fret. And here's a version of an A minor up on the 5th fret with a small barré. I'll cover this in more detail later on as well. And now for the tune, played slowly and with diagrams. Right, there we had it. We had the chord structure, we had the chords, we had the slow motion for the first part of the tune. So what I'm going to do now is to bring the camera a bit closer and show you some of the chord formations with the fretting hand. Right, the first two chords in the tune are an A minor and a D minor, and the melody note goes through the chords like this. And C, E7th, A minor. Okay, that's nice and simple. The next sequence is C to G ninth, to G, to G7th, which goes. Now some people get a bit frightened of barred chords, but the G ninth isn't too bad. If you can play an ordinary G, barred, and you put your little finger on the 5th fret on the top string, that's the A above G, which is a G ninth chord. One way to approach barred chords is to play the basic non-barred bits first and then put the bar on later. So if you play an E7th down here, the first two fingers, instead of using the first two fingers, use the second and third fingers. And that's an E7th. Put your little finger on the top string on the 2nd fret. That's an E ninth, E7 ninth. If you move that up 3 places, put the finger across, you've got a G ninth there, okay? Now the next chord is an ordinary G, and you could play that by taking the little finger off. Alternatively, you could just slide back down from the G ninth onto the G. And that's one of the reasons that I don't use this G shape with the first 3 fingers, because it's not really economical in terms of finger movement. So from the G ninth down to the G, down to the G7th goes back to the C again. So that bit of sequence from the C, G9, G and G7 back to the C goes. With a little finger sliding up and down. Okay, and the next two chords are a B7 and an E, or an E7. What we do here with the B7 is not to play the 5th string on the 2nd fret, but to play the 6th string. And then when we go to the E, we play the bass string and the top 3 strings. And the E construction, that's D. So slide up 2 frets, and you've got E. Okay. There's a nice little bass run that comes in if you're playing the C before that, which goes. Okay, so, and the next chord's an A minor. It's actually an A minor ninth. Okay, that's an A minor. Again, the ninth note, that's 2 semitones above the octave, which is A, is a B, A minor ninth. And it goes. Back down to the basic A minor, and D minor again, and then C, that's a C ninth, E 7th. So the chords change slightly as the melody runs through. Let's just take it from the B7th again. we repeat that bit from the B7th. Right, I'll just play the whole thing again very slowly. Incidentally, when it comes to the E there, the D note that's played with it makes it a D7th, but you could actually play a D7th here as well. So that's an E7th here. So that's D7, and that's E7, the bass note in. So it goes, and so on and so on. So I'll use that E7 when I play the tune through again slowly. Here we go. That's the basic chord structure and a way of playing Moscow Nights. Right, now we'll take a look at the finger-picking hand. As far as picking the strings goes, I use the thumb for the sort of 5th, 4th and sometimes the 3rd strings, and the top 3 strings are from the 3rd, 2nd and 1st fingers. And I tend to play the block chords quite a lot with all 4 fingers being used, all 3 fingers and the thumb being used rather, except where it's a bit too low to do that. So I'm going to play the tune slowly and you can just watch what the picking fingers do. Here we go. I'll play that with a bit more speed and just put a few more thumb picks in here to give it a bit of energy. So here we go again. I'm also doing a little bit of slight arpeggiation on the top 2 and 3 strings. So instead of going, you can go, you roll your fingers. It's a very rapid movement. that's a quick look at the picking hand. Well, that was a breakdown of Moscow Nights, and I hope you found it useful.